Certain foods are literally designed to make you overeat. I recently just shared a study about how ultra-processed foods cause you to eat about 813 more calories every single day, which can result in about 2.4 pounds of weight gain every week. And research has shown, as well as just from my own experience as a nutritionist working with people one-on-one, that when you greatly reduce or remove these ultra-processed foods, it makes achieving weight loss goals so much easier. Especially if you feel like you're stuck or you're at a plateau, removing these ultra-processed foods can really help you to break through that plateau. Not to mention, it can help to reduce sugar cravings, help you feel more full and satisfied, and overall just make you feel better. So today I walked through our local grocery store and found 28 of some of the most common ultra-processed foods. And I'm also going to be sharing really tasty, delicious alternatives that also help to serve your weight loss and wellness goals. Let's dive into it. My name's Autumn and I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's nutrition human performance, and today's video is sponsored by Gem. More on them in a bit. Okay, the first is soda. Really any sweetened drinks, but soda is the big one. Usually there's at least 30 grams of added sugar per 12-ounce serving. And just research has shown that sweetened drinks like sodas are one of the biggest causes of obesity. So thankfully there are so many different alternatives that you can have to soda now. Obviously water, sparkling water, those are going to be some of your best options, but there's even stevia sweetened sodas. If you are having a hard time getting off of soda, that will be a much better alternative for the time being. Okay, the second are those like cheesy crackers. So think of things like Cheez-Its and Goldfish. Ironically, not much cheese in them. And Goldfish was my absolute childhood vice. I've talked about this a lot. My family was and is like very health conscious, so I was never allowed to have it, but I remember my friends would have those really big bags of it and I would rip through an entire bag. They are so addictive, which is obviously one of the reasons why we want to swap it out for a better option, not to mention all of the highly processed ingredients that are in there too. So alternatives, obviously just regular sliced cheese is going to be so much better. Regular sliced cheese of any type is going to have high quality protein and fat to boost satiety and prevent hunger. It's also going to be blood sugar stabilizing, and cheese is low lactose, making it a good option for most who are lactose intolerant. But even if you want more of like a chip alternative, you can get a lot of those baked cheeses. I think one is called like Parm Crisp, and then I think there's just Wisps, which is so hard to say. Okay, the third are dinner rolls. So think of things like those crescent rolls, the ones that you just like open up a little bit, you smack on the table and it pops open. Now these are typically made with like flour and vegetable shortening and some sugar. This combination, when we combine fat and sugar as well as some salt, causes us to reach something called a bliss point. Now the bliss point in research is where we bypass our normal satiety cues, which makes it really hard for us to stop eating. Just triggers a sensation in our mind that we just need to eat more and more. So instead of things like crescent rolls or those dinner rolls, you're so much better off literally just having a slice of real sourdough bread or Ezekiel bread. Yes, it's still bread, but it's actually naturally fermented and much lower glycemic load. Okay, the fourth is cookie dough. Another one of my vices as a kid. I remember even then, like as a 8-year-old, realizing that I can't just have like one bite of this cookie dough or I will eat the entire thing. I could not physically stop myself from eating all the cookie dough, especially now where they have ones where you're literally allowed to eat the raw cookie dough. I'm not going to lie, I ate it back then, even though you weren't supposed to. But instead of these really high sugar, high processed cookie doughs, you can make your own cookies that actually are much more nutrient dense and much more blood sugar stabilizing. I have a recipe where it's just made with like peanut butter, some maple syrup, some chocolate chips, and that's pretty much it. Literally zero flour, and it still comes out delicious. I'll have the video with it linked up here if you want to check it out. Okay, the fifth is ramen. Absolutely zero nutritional value. And a lot of these like ultra processed food brands will get you with showing that they're low calorie or generally kind of low calorie. Like these ramen brands are usually about 290 calories, which you might think like, oh, that's actually not too bad. But the problem is that they're such highly processed ingredients with such a little amount of protein that you still feel hungry and you still need to eat more. Hence that study where people eat more than 800 extra calories on days when they have ultra processed foods. So if possible, you're better off having real ramen with real broth and having actual meat and actual veggies in there, not those like little weird pieces of dehydrated carrot. Or if you're having something like ramen because you're in a time crunch, just reach for something like canned chili instead. It takes just as long to heat up and it actually is going to be more nutrient dense. Okay, the sixth is chocolate milk. Oh my gosh, so much sugar, and it's from high fructose corn syrup, which is really a bummer because whole milk is actually such an important food for us to have. I didn't always used to think this. My mind was changed about like 5 years ago about milk, and ever since then, my health has drastically improved ever since I started to incorporate more dairy products, including milk. Also have a full video on that if like that is mind blowing to you to think of milk as something that's good for you. You can check it out right here. But whole milk is is inversely associated with obesity, which means that people who have whole milk, not low-fat milk, but whole milk, are actually less likely to be obese. So instead of having like the chocolate milk with so much added sugar, opt for just regular whole milk. And if you want to have a little bit of that chocolatey flavor, you can put in something like my chocolate protein powder, which has 0 added sugar. I'll often actually heat up some milk and then mix in my chocolate protein powder to make like a hot chocolate, and it's so good. I'll have that recipe linked up here as well as down description below if you want to check it out. Which, speaking of how important whole foods are, I want to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Gem. Gem is a really cool whole food multivitamin supplement, and I'm typically not a fan of most multivitamin brands because they use low quality ingredients and fillers, or they're just not in their bioavailable form. I was super impressed by Gem for using whole food ingredients while still covering so many nutritional bases. Plus, it actually tastes good. I legitimately look forward to taking it every single day. It's slightly tangy, a little bit sweet. I take mine with breakfast, 1 per day, and Gem believes in eating vitamins the way nature intended. Each of their bites are packed with over 20 whole food vitamins and minerals and superfoods, prebiotics, and probiotics to help fill the gaps in daily nutrition. I love that Gem is a chewable vitamin made from whole food ingredients like fermented chickpeas for vitamin K2, quinoa sprouts for B vitamins, turmeric for inflammation, and pumpkin seeds and trace minerals for zinc. Gem takes a holistic approach to health and uses whole food ingredients that work best together to be best absorbed by the body. It tastes great and makes taking a daily supplement easier to remember and actually enjoyable. And right now for my community, Gem is offering 50% off your first month. So head over to dailygem.com/autumnbates and use my code autumnbates at checkout so you don't miss out on the discount. I'll also have it linked down description below. Okay, the 7th is cereal. So cereal is pretty much just highly processed flour and sugar. But on top of that, there's often a lot of different food dyes that are banned in a lot of other countries. You might have seen that popping up on the news lately where a lot of people are petitioning against that. So there's not really an exact swap for cereal. All cereals are going to have to some degree a lot of processing, or they're just not going to be high in protein and they're going to be nutrient poor. So a better breakfast alternative would be having like a yogurt bowl with nuts on top and some fresh fruit. Okay, the 8th is donuts. So donuts are usually about 32% of sugar by weight, and pretty much the rest of that is just highly processed flours. Again, just like cereal, there's not like a true alternative to donuts. If you wanted to, you could make something like protein donuts, which there are recipes like on Pinterest where you can check them out. They often will use like protein powder and almond flour, maybe like some Greek yogurt in there, but it still ultimately would just be better to have a true meal rather than just having donuts. Okay, number 9 is sweetened coffee creamers. Now this is where they'll get you in thinking like, oh, it's really not that bad. It's just 6 grams of sugar for a serving, but 1 serving is just 1 tablespoon. And from my experience, most people are having like 3 to 4 servings, not just that 1 serving. So you're looking at 18 to 24 grams of added sugar with these sweetened coffee creamers. You're so much better off just having regular half and half heavy cream or using something like nut pods. Okay, number 10 is lemonade. This is surprisingly on par with soda. Actually, I think it's higher than soda because in just an 8-ounce serving, it has 26 grams of added sugar. That is so much. To put that into perspective, the American Heart Association recommends no more than 6 teaspoons of added sugar per day. This 1 8-ounce serving of lemonade already puts you over at about 6.5 teaspoons. So if you really wanted to, you could make your own lemonade and control a lot better for the sugar and use like a real natural sugar and use a lot less of it, or use something like stevia to keep it 0 sugar, or just have lemon water or some of these other sparkling waters that are lemon flavored like Spindrift. Number 11 is energy drinks. Sugar plus caffeine, like 2 of the most addictive things you could possibly have all in 1 can. 1 can that I found had 38 grams of added sugar, which is a lot. Again, that's like a soda. So instead, if you need some caffeine, have it from natural sources that don't have sugar like coffee or tea. Okay, number 12 are those pre-made coffee drinks. So this one that I saw showed 1 serving had 19 grams of added sugar. But what's interesting is if you were to go to some of these other coffee shops and actually get some of these coffees in person, that can really skyrocket up to about 30, 40, or even 50 grams of added sugar in 1 cup, or in 1 serving rather. Again, make your own coffee, make your own tea, and that way you have so much more control over the sugar that's in there. Okay, number 13 is candy. Now, just like a lot of these other processed foods, they really get you by having these smaller servings so that it seems like, oh, it's not that many calories. Like this one had 170 calories. Okay, maybe that's not too bad. I'll just have 1 packet. But then these foods don't make you feel full. They don't make you feel satisfied. And these hyper palatable, ultra processed foods are much more likely to make you want to continue eating. So you're better off just skipping it entirely. If you are going to have any type of candy, keep it to a true special occasion, definitely not on a weekly basis. Okay, number 14 are ice cream bars, including those like minis. So obviously just regular ice cream is going to be high in sugar, high in fat, so you get that same bliss point, but they also really get you with those minis because they'll be like, oh, they're lower calorie. You can just have like 1 of these and it's fine. But the psychology that I've seen of most people is they'll go, oh, well, if I have 1, then I can actually have a second and it's kind of like having just one regular, so it's gonna be fine, which you can see how this will spiral out. So when it comes to ice cream, I found it so much better not to keep it in the house. And if you really do feel like you want to have a like special treat, go out for ice cream, literally go to an actual ice cream shop, get a scoop of ice cream and sit and enjoy it there. Just never have it in the house because that's something that is so easy to overeat beyond our body's needs. Okay, 15 is toaster waffles. This is another one of those that I absolutely loved and I was not allowed to have. Really, honestly, thank you, parents. I'm glad you didn't allow me to have it because I would have had it so much. But when I would go to friends' houses or like my grandparents' houses, they would have it and I would eat like 8 Eggos at once with all the maple syrup, just so much sugar, so much processed carbs. And it's because it doesn't really have protein. And so you're going to want to eat more and more because you're not full and satisfied. A much better alternative is to make protein waffles, which you guys know that's what I used during my whole 20-pound postpartum weight loss journey. They're delicious, but they actually have complete protein that makes you feel full and satisfied. I'll have that recipe linked up here if you want to check it out. Okay, number 16 are most frozen dinners. So things like lasagna and pot stickers. These are generally high in carbs and high in fat and low in protein. And the reason why is because protein is one of the more expensive ingredients. So it makes sense from the business perspective why they have less of it because it is more expensive. But as the consumer, it just leaves you feeling more hungry and you're going to eat beyond the recommended serving that it has. Like that one lasagna that I showed at the grocery store, I know that I could easily take out half of that whole thing if I was just to eat like regular lasagna, and that's supposed to serve 5 people. Now there are much better frozen options that you can find if you do need to make those frozen meals. Just actually look at the nutrition facts, check for the protein amount. You want to make sure it has at least 30 grams per serving to really be worth your time. Okay, number 17, chicken nuggets. Chicken nuggets are surprisingly low in protein. It comes down to the fact that they are heavily breaded. Also, what's actually mixed into the chicken nuggets, it really reduces the total amount of protein that should be in there, which you can actually fairly easily make your own DIY chicken nuggets and you can freeze them and save them for a later point. And you can use breading that's lower glycemic load like almond flour. Now there might be some other chicken nuggets that are higher in protein, but just make sure to check the nutrition facts label, look at the protein amount, make sure that you're actually getting really at least 20 grams, but hopefully 30 grams. Probably won't find it, but at least 20 grams of protein. Okay, number 18 is frozen pizza. Same issue, low protein, really high processed carb. So instead, I like to make my own like frozen pizza alternatives. I use the brand Outer Isle, which is like this cauliflower crust pizza, but it's just made with cauliflower, egg, and Parmesan. So it actually contains complete protein as well as fiber. And then I just put like pizza sauce and some cheese on top, and then maybe some other veggies. You can even make what's called a meatza. If we haven't already, we're sharing the recipe on our blog soon. So if I have it shared already, I'll have it linked down in the description below. Okay, number 19 are bagels. Bagels are mostly just processed flour. And eating one bagel is the equivalent of eating about 4 slices of bread. So it's very high glycemic load. It causes a big spike in blood sugar and a big crash. Makes it so that you're going to be hungry very quickly. And obviously it's low in protein. Just like earlier, it's so much better to have sourdough or Ezekiel or some of those low carb options like the base culture bread and actually pair it with about 30 grams of a high quality protein. Number 20 are muffins. Pre-made muffins usually have a lot of sugar and a lot of flour, obviously. In fact, there's so much sugar and flour, it's pretty much on par with just having like a cake. High glycemic load causes that crash, causes hunger, and you can either make your own lower glycemic load muffins with something like almond flour, some protein powder, Greek yogurt, etc., or just skip it. Like it's not providing any nutritional value. You can just have something else entirely. Okay, number 21 are Pop-Tarts. Pop-Tarts have 4 grams of protein and 31 grams of sugar. Also highly processed ingredients. There's just not really an alternative because it's pretty much just like pure pastry. So this is another one that you're just gonna wanna skip. Okay, number 22 are granola bars. This is one that gets like a health halo. It makes you think like, oh, I'm eating healthier, I'm having a granola bar. But then when you flip over, look at the ingredients, look at the nutrition facts, you might be shocked, especially to see that the second ingredient is corn syrup. And that considering it's supposed to be like fruit and nuts, it's shockingly low in fat and very high in sugar. So you can either make your own true granola bar that actually has like nuts in there, or just have like nuts on top of yogurt, and that's such a better alternative. Okay, number 23 are packaged cookies. So think of things like Oreos or like those little Nabisco packs. Just like the rest, these are high in sugar, highly processed, and very easy to eat a lot of. And just like my recommendation earlier, just make your own cookie if you're going to have it, but really treat it as a treat. This should not be something that's had on a daily basis, especially when you're working toward a weight loss goal, but also a wellness goal, because that is not going to contribute to optimal health. Okay, number 4 are potato chips. So potato chips usually have potatoes, vegetable oil, and salt. And frying vegetable oil at these high heats has been found to produce these harmful byproducts. Also, we get that bliss point of the carbs, the fat, and the salt. So if you really want to have some type of chip, again, if it is more of like a special occasion, then you could do like DIY, like baked chips. Otherwise, this is one that you'll just generally want to skip as a daily food item because they're just so easy to overeat well beyond our body's needs. Literally, like have a baked potato instead. Okay, number 25 are other chips. So things like Cheetos. So the ingredients are usually like cornmeal and vegetable oil, but then it also usually has food dyes. Again, you'll want to skip it. Or you can have those baked Parmesan crisps instead. Okay, number 26 is mac and cheese. I'm talking about like the boxed mac and cheese because that has about 49 grams of carbs with less than 2 grams or about 2 grams of fiber. And even though they might have the suggested serving size, let's be real, like it's so easy to eat an entire box. Again, we go back to that concept of ultra processed foods being so easy to overeat. And they just have pretty much zero nutritional value. So you can actually make your own like DIY type of mac and cheese by using like some steamed or parboiled cauliflower as the base and then making like a cheesy sauce on top. It's actually surprisingly good. Like my husband who loves mac and cheese actually really loves that recipe. One day I'll have to share that too. Okay, number 27 are the snack packs like tapioca. Artificial colors, added sugar, but only 110 calories. This is another great example of why you don't want to just look at calories because it is so easy to overconsume these highly processed foods. Where on the flip side, with the same amount of calories of about 110, you can get about 16 grams worth of protein from beef jerky. And that will leave you feeling so much more satisfied than like the snack packs. And it's going to actually have nutrient density, like very important bioavailable iron. Or you could even just swap out the snack packs for a couple hard-boiled eggs. Either way, those are much better option. Or if you wanted some type of chocolate pudding, there are recipes where you can take like avocado, put some cacao powder in there, maybe a little bit of maple syrup for a little bit of sweetness, and then you could sneak in some like protein powder or collagen powder to up the overall protein. And it's such a more nutritious, high-quality snack. In fact, one of my friends who has a very picky toddler actually loves that recipe, so definitely try that out if you still want some type of like snack pack alternative. Okay, number 20 are the brownie and cake packages. Obviously, high sugar, high processed carbs, but also these are type of treat that really shouldn't be made easier to access. These should be true treat items. Like if you want to have brownies at your birthday or at some type of celebration, fine, like great. Make some homemade brownies. But not only are these prepackaged brownie mixes and cake mixes so poor quality, but they also just make it so you can easily whip them up on like any regular weeknight, making it more habitual. So if you are going to have something like brownies, keep it as a true treat and maybe try some of the other alternatives that are lower glycemic load and higher in fiber. Like you can make black bean brownies, which sounds weird. There's a lot of recipes on Pinterest, but I've made those before and it's actually tastes very similar to regular brownies. It's also going to have more protein and more fiber, making it such a better option. Now, another item that typically has a lot of sugar is hot chocolate, like those hot chocolate mixes. And growing up, I loved hot chocolate. So I actually made a 0 added sugar hot chocolate recipe. You need to try it out. I'll have it linked up here if you want to check out that recipe. Also, if you're new to my channel and you love this science-backed information, make sure you subscribe right here. Come out new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in and I'll see you in my next video.